Hello, myself Sonal Ramakrishnan Nair, and here basically we are discussing about the Formula Awards, and that is basically the Formula 208. That is basically 208 part. So here basically we are discussing that about the subscription plan basically which the government has taken, which the government is telling that we have basically done lots of hard work for that. Basically for India, especially basically we have created around 3 to 4 lakh subscription plan and that are basically controlling the human body parts and human body data basically. So here basically we will take one example. That example is there is one festival basically in Gujarati, that is basically Gujaratis are basically playing, that is basically called Navratri. That is basically called Navratri, and that is basically directly connected with the universal. That is basically the universe. So here the basically thing basically we are discussing is in this world basically, for example, 100 times the world has ended. 100 times the world has ended and currently the world is ongoing. Assume that currently, and I am basically talking from India country and Vadodara city. Assume that, and 100 times the world has ended. Assume that. So 100 times the world has ended, and assume that this power supply basically which I am getting, that is basically from around 199 countries. Assume that I am getting power supply from 199 countries. Assume that. Assume that. So in this world basically assume that sorry, in this universe basically assume that there are 2900 symbol basically which is created in universe, and basically the universe groups are telling that earth planet has created 99 symbols in 100 basically time earth basically ended. So 100 basically times the world has ended, in 100 times world ended, the universe basically was able to complete 99 symbol, and there are around 2900 symbols. So 99 symbol only basically has completed. So world by default is not going to end. World generation basically is 100% going to be ongoing only. Few people says that we will end the earth planet generation only, but this is not going to end because the 2900 symbol basically is already created. So few people say the universe group says that we basically have created the duplicate earth planet also. We have created duplicate earth planet also. But exact duplicate basically you can't create it, right? Exact duplicate you can't create it. It's not possible only basically. So few people says that we can basically the few basically fluctuation will happen, but then basically the exactly the symbol basically is supposed to create 2900 exact symbol basically data is supposed to create, that will not get created. So the Earth planet basically mostly will never going to end. So generation is basically going to be on only. So lots of metrics are going to 100% going to generate only. The metrics basically that is 100% going to generate because Earth planet will never end. Earth planet generation will never end. Why? Because 2900 symbols are basically are to be created, and only 99 symbol is basically created by the 100 time basically world has ended. And few group basically few people basically still exist in the earth planet basically every time basically the world ends, but that group basically never dies. So that type of groups are also basically there, they are basically directly connected with the universe. They are basically in short running the world basically. So in universe basically there is no value of money, because if 100 times world has ended, then basically you can imagine there is no value of money. But in earth planet basically if you want to stay in earth planet, then basically you require money. Without money basically you can't stay. Without money, you can't stay. But there is no value of money in universe. That is the so there are two side basically. One is Earth planet level side, another is universal level side. So Earth planet basically says that we have the value of money. Without money, you can't stay in Earth planet. You can't purchase one single pen also. And the another side is basically the universe group. They say that basically there is no value of money. The city gets finished just within second. So like these things are also basically there. So here basically the thing is the symbol basically which currently basically assume that one group basically are into the symbolic creation. Currently they assume that the 100 number symbol is ongoing. 99 time basically the symbol 99 symbol basically is already created. The 100th time basically the earth planet is basically ongoing. Earth planet basically is 100 time basically earth planet is going, and 99 time basically the earth planet has finished, and this is basically the 100 time ongoing. And 100 time basically which the earth planet is going, in this basically there are many departments like cyber groups, nuclear power plant, power company basically who is giving the power supply, and the software company basically who is handling the power supply company. They are basically handling the each and every computers, each and every laptops. They are basically handling each and every companies, each and every laptops, and they are basically supplying the data. And according to that the data, the body parts also affects. For example, few data power, few people are basically supplying the power supply data, and due to that basically his eye is getting effect, and sometimes basically head is getting effect. Sometimes basically head get effect. Sometimes basically building gets a shake basically. Sometimes basically if the power supply basically is passing according to the wrongly data, then basically the building gets shakes. Assume that basically I am in sitting in 10 floor building, the building suddenly starts shaking. Why? Because the data was basically passed wrongly. The data which was basically getting passed for the power supply company, that was basically wrongly passed. Suddenly assume that one city basically that is Valsad city, they basically was passing the data, and suddenly basically entire Valsad city basically got shaked. All building basically got shaked due to the power supply which was getting passed, which was basically getting passed, which was basically getting passed. The data basically which was getting passed. And one time basically the laptop basically where the data was getting passed, that person was so powerful basically that he was connected with the universe group, and suddenly that power supply company basically that got blast, and the connected energy company and nuclear company also got blast due to his body was getting effect. And there basically the universe groups told that basically why his body is getting effect. So they blasted the power company and the energy company and the nuclear power company. They suddenly blasted the nuclear power company, and the entire city basically got suffered due to that power company and due to that person basically. Due to that single person, the entire city basically got suffered. That is also there. So this basically never happened practically. But if anybody want to see practically, then basically it's might possible. Because nowadays everything is happening suddenly. So if anybody want to see basically this practically, then basically it might possible that if anybody is connected with the universe, and then basically suddenly the power company get blast, energy company get blast, and the nuclear company also basically get blast. And due to that power company which was giving the power supply, due to that single person, basically the entire power company got suffered, entire company got suffered. The businessmen basically who has invested in the power company and the energy company and the nuclear power plant, basically they got suffered. So entire businessmen basically got suffered, and due to that basically the country got suffered, due to that due to that one single person who was basically passing the data, and the body basically was getting damaged. So you can just imagine basically thing basically can happen. So here basically what actually we are discussing, here the basically we are discussing is the supply company basically which is getting passing the data, that are basically passing according to the symbolic data basically. That is basically the 99 time the world basically has ended, and this is basically the 100 time the world is ongoing. So which symbol basically currently is ongoing? Which symbol basically the creation is ongoing? That is the thing, right? Which symbol basically creation is ongoing? Which symbol basically the creation is ongoing? So assume that the plus symbol is ongoing. Assume that plus symbol is ongoing. Assume just taking as an example, it might be some star symbol also. There are basically many symbols also, right? Why the symbol basically is created in this world? There might be some reason, right? Without any reason, basically the symbol also basically if you create, if anything is basically getting created in this world, any drawing is basically getting created in this world, that basically are connected with some reasons basically, right? So the symbol basically example star symbol basically is existing in the world, sorry, in the universe basically. In the universe basically the star symbol exists. In the universe basically the star symbol exists. In the universe basically the star symbol exists. The universe basically the star symbol exists. Assume that suddenly basically the world uh, start taking the data of the 99 time ended basically earth planet. Assume that suddenly basically the earth planet started taking data from the 99 time ended earth planet. 99 time ended earth planet. So what was the reason basically behind that? Now this type of thing basically never happens because that the creation is already over. That creation basically which was created by certain groups, basically certain universe group, that creation basically is already over, right? Then also basically why it has taken basically the past data, there might be some reason, right? There might be some reason basically. So that basically one of the person basically told that we want to do the chaining system, we want to do the chaining system. So universe group basically says that to create one energy basically it is taking lots of time. So we basically don't want to waste the time. So for that basically we have taken the previous data. We have taken the previous data. We have taken the previous data. And one more thing basically, few people says that there are basically God basically in Earth planet, right? There are basically God in our planet. So currently assume that there are around 100 gods, and all basically are in universe, and they are basically accessing the each and every body parts. Each and every body parts they are accessing. Suddenly by mistake basically some body gets damaged from that god. Then what is going to happen? Nothing is going to happen. Why? Because they are God. They can do anything. They have full power. And they have given the power to the earth planet also. That is the main thing. They have given the full power to the earth planet also. There are people basically sitting in the temple, sitting in the ISKCON temple, sitting in the ISKCON temple, sitting in the ISKCON temple. They have basically got full power. Sitting in the temples, they basically have full power of the God energy. But there basically nothing happens. Why? Because it's a temple basically. The temple group basically can do anything. Sometimes basically the mosque group gets fire. They basically do the firing of the each and every body parts. Sometimes church basically groups do. But they basically for there basically nothing happens. Why? Because it's a God power basically, and God basically don't know this because He has basically given the power to the Earth planet. He has given the power to the Earth planet, and on the behalf of God basically, the body parts are basically getting damaged because to access any of the body parts, the rule says that without God energy you can't access. Without God energy you can't access the body parts. So assume that in this world basically there are Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Parsis, Jains, Buddhism. So these all are basically the caste and they basically have the god also. So each basically have groups have basically got the powers by the that is basically connected with the universe level power. I have taken one example basically, right? The symbol basically the 100 times this symbol is basically ongoing, and that symbol basically is getting created on the base of the god energy power. I had taken one more example basically. If any body parts is to be accessed without God energy, basically you can't access that body parts. So on the behalf of God Universe Group, they have given the certain level of power to the Earth planet that are basically the temples group. There basically people are basically moving in the roads. They basically have the full power, and they basically keeps on damaging the body parts. For example, one person is standing in the traffic signal. One call basically came. Basically, that person is standing in the traffic signal. Basically, he's basically had do something in his head. So he started activating his application. So application is also basically getting created by the God groups. God groups basically creates the applications also. So like this, his body basically parts was damaged. He was just sitting in basically he has just standing in the traffic signal. Has any wrong thing basically he has done? He basically has resent the traffic signal group. Nothing he has basically done. So basically that was good that he basically will not stop in the traffic signal. That was the responsibility of whom basically? That was the responsibility of traffic signal. Basically. They basically had stopped that person, and due to that basically person basically stopped, the another person basically damaged his head. In this basically the traffic signal also basically supported that group basically who has damaged the body parts. So here basically what happened, the person basically who basically was in the duty basically he basically stopped the person, each and every people basically, that entire people basically whatever things basically is going to happen in that basically that person is also basically the responsible person. The universe law says this, universe law basically say this, but that person basically don't know anything that this type of activities happening in the traffic signal basically, that type of activities basically is happening in the traffic signal. So here basically directly the governments came into picture, that government is also basically involved, but the government basically don't know anything, right? Government don't know anything. Government if any then basically the person basically who was basically head was damaged, their doctor basically diagnosed the thing, how basically the energy basically connected to his head, how basically he, energy basically connected to it. Then basically they told that in traffic signal basically of the mobile basically, one of the apps basically that was connected, that basically damaged the person of that person's head. Then basically the person basically was rich, as in that he was basically in 3 lakh bike basically. He was basically riding a 3 lakh rupees bikes. So you can just assume basically here basically what are the things basically used. The apps basically used set of mobiles basically from that traffic signal only. From that traffic signal only, the apps basically he basically started connecting to the apps, and he connected to that person, and then basically he connected to few mobiles. They were basically Android mobile, and few one normal mobile also basically was used. From that roadmap basically he basically attacked the person. So basically the time is going to 100% going to take. He basically have the entire mobile data also basically, which was used. So basically the log file basically you can say. So like this basically the head basically was part was damaged. His head basically was head part was basically damaged. So basically, if the doctors basically will try to track that basically, how he basically they basically reached to the traffic signal. They reached to one mobile also, but that one mobile basically was a normal mobile. So then basically the experts basically says that no, that is not possible. Normal mobile basically can't do. Then basically they changed the another mobile. Like this basically the mobile was until in this time basically they God group basically the God energy group basically they tracked that doctor also basically, and they directly connected with the doctor, and they told that basically we have done that thing, you don't interfere in this. So basically you just see basically the what are the things happening in this world. So on the name of the god basically, the god group basically are using each and everything. And in this basically nowadays lots of BMEs are also basically working in the doing the taking care of the temples. B and ME groups, B and ME groups basically. So you can just imagine basically the things basically has connected. So here basically we are discussing about the 99 symbol. The 99 symbol basically, the 99 symbol basically, the 99 symbol basically which was created and more than 100 times the world was ended. So every time basically there were some set of groups basically the reason basically the world basically ended. There was some story basically, right? Without story basically without story basically it was not easy to understand the why is the basically world basically got ended, why the world basically ended. So 99 story basically was there which ended the world. So it's a 2900 symbol basically is there. So mostly more than 2000 time the world is going to end. That is 100% sure, right? Few people says that without ending the world also basically you can create the symbol. Few people says that without ending the world also basically you can create the symbol, right? You can create the symbol, right? Without ending the world also basically you can create the symbol. Without ending the world also basically you can create the symbol. Without that basically you can't create the symbol. You can't without ending the world you can't create the symbol. Then basically universe group starting thinking, is this possible or not? But we have to finish few groups basically. They all that also basically they told. Then basically they told like yeah basically you can finish the few groups. So which was that group basically that they were basically searching? Which group has to win? So without basically finishing the entire world, also basically the symbol can be create. Symbol basically can be create. Few people says that we have damaged his body parts. We have damaged few body parts basically. But then basically one of the people says that we are basically repairing also. That basically also basically few people says that. few people says, for example, there was one person basically sitting in the laptop basically and doing the work basically. Suddenly basically his body basically started reacting something. Reacting means his body parts was basically connected. Sorry, his body basically part was getting pains. Then basically he was basically universe person basically. He was connected directly with the universe. So he basically done the complaint that this his body part is basically paining basically. What is the reason? Then basically he told that universe group basically told that from your body energy, when another body is getting created, from your body energy, the another body was basically getting created. What? He was basically shocked. Basically, how is that possible? So he told that basically anything is possible in this world. In this world, basically anything is possible. So from the one body parts, he was basically getting the pain. That pain basically when he tracked that time basically he diagnosed that the software basically company I'm telling you, the software company, Universe software company groups, they basically told that your body basically parts are getting used and the from your body parts energy, few groups are basically creating the body parts. Sorry, the another body is getting created. And basically he was basically shocked basically how that is basically getting created. So basically he told that basically in this world basically anything can happen. One person is basically working in laptop, his energy is getting used, and that also to create some body parts. So you can just imagine the critical level basically. This is basically critical, right? His body parts is getting, his body's energies are getting accessed, and he is basically getting the pain. And from that pain, basically, he basically complained to the universe group, and universe group basically informed him that your body basically energy is getting used to create any body parts. So to create any body basically, and that basically body basically was alive also. They basically dumped a human souls also into that body, and suddenly that basically body got activated and then behave like a normal basically, and entire data was also basically was active, data was also dumped into the body, but the entire energy basically was used of that person basically who was sitting in the laptop. So you can just imagine the dangerous level when that person basically was working in the laptop. So when basically he was working in the laptop, so you just imagine basically up to what level basically he might be connected. And that time only basically any person basically is doing the damage of his body parts. So you can just imagine the power company basically where the body was damaged, and the energy company where the body was damaged, and the nuclear company basically where the body was damaged. You can just imagine that time basically his body was basically getting access, the energy was basically getting access to create one body. So you can just imagine the power of that particular person. So here basically the thing is the technology has reached up to the level basically in this world that they can do anything. But the technology only basically do the harm also. So if positive thing is there basically, then negative thing is also there in this world. If negative thing is there, then basically the positive thing is also there basically, right? So this is basically here also basically the subscription plan groups where that they are basically the subscription plan groups basically they are passing the data to each and every cities, and they pass this type of data also. They pass this type of data also, that are basically the human souls which is doing process. and that human suppose basically can used by the any of the person to activate that body. So you can just imagine the subscription plan group basically up to what level basically they have reached. So this is basically the 208 part, and in 209 part basically we are going to discuss a little bit more about this subscription plan data only, and each and everything basically the Bollywood groups are also told that we are basically tracking each and every stories in this world, whatever the stories basically that is happening. Because we nowadays basically we have created our own basically information channel. For example, we have the doctors also in our group. We have software person also basically in our group. We have CEOs, vice president also in our group. So this is 208 part, and in 209 part basically we are going to discuss a little bit more about this only.